Defending Sacred Ground. By Alex Collier. Transcript 1996. Although many elements contained within this December 1995 lecture are basically unverifiable, the synchronicity with the material presented by Benevolent, especially in his video presentations on the Light and Dark Brotherhood and his lecture at the Conclave of Michael Conference in Banff, Canada in 1994, make this material so highly interesting that it demands presentation in the leading edge. Relate it to other material and decide yourself. Together with other material in existence, it appears to have a bearing on the immediate future of the planet and all its inhabitants. Legend, AC, Alex Collier. Q, Audience Questioner. Introduction, AC. Hello, I'm Alex Collier. In the last 31 years I have been given so much information that I would ask you to write down your questions, otherwise it may not be brought up. There are some positive aspects to the information, and there is some information that is not very positive. There is absolutely nothing we cannot resolve, if we stick together. What I mean by that is that we don't turn on each other. To have us turn on each other is definitely something that they are trying to get us to do, to divide us. The problems in the world that we have on the government level are just a symptom of a much bigger problem. I believe it was Bill Cooper, much to his credit, who said several years ago, when you put the ETs in the middle of this thing, it absolutely makes sense. He's absolutely right. I am going to be presenting the Andromedan perspective as to what is going on, who we are, and some material about our past history. They have comments about all of our history. I have been a contactee for 31 years. I has not been consistent for 31 years, but it has been consistent since 1985. The first contact was in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan in a place called Woodstock. In 1964 I was on a family picnic. I went out to play with cousins, and I laid on the grass. The next thing I remember is that it was night time. They could not find me. I had missing time. I did not remember anything until age 14. We went back to the area where I had been sleeping. My body print was there. My mom, dad and a Michigan State Trooper swore up and down that they had looked for me. I wasn't there. So, it was one of those dilemmas. At age 14, I went to bed on a normal August night. I woke up and found myself on the platform. There were two men standing over me, a short one and a very tall one. They were both very handsome. On a soul level, I had absolute recognition of who they were. The tall one, Moreni, had light blue skin. Visace, the shorter one, was much older, and his skin was whitish, having lost most of the blue pigmentation. The Andromedans are a very very old race. Apparently, all of the human race comes from Lyrae. There is a lot of information about this. Billy Meyer also talks about it. The human race did not originally exist in Lyrae. It came from some other galaxy but first began to evolve in our galaxy in the Lyran system. According to the Andromedans, there are over 135 billion human beings in the 8 galaxies closest to ours. Now, there are also other races out there. Some of these races have had a lot of conflicts with the human race, and that conflict continues. But, there are things that are happening that will hopefully alleviate that problem. It comes down to philosophies, more than anything else. The Andromedans are a telepathic race. Moreni, over the last 10 years, has learned to use his vocal cords. The reason that the newsletter here is called Letters from Andromeda, is because the first words that Moreni said to me when I went on board one time were another letter. He was trying to convey the idea of meeting, and had been trying to search for the word. The Andromedans care really deeply about what is going on, and a lot of it apparently has to do with who we are as souls, who we are genetically, and it also has to do with the future, a future in which we will probably be in other physical forms. We were talking about the future between now and 357 years from now. Our universe is a hologram, to us. Some may say that doesn't matter, I won't be here. But as far as other extraterrestrial races are concerned, they will be here. Many of them live from an average of 1,000 to 1,500 years. The Andromedans live to an average of 2,007 years. The years that I am going to be giving you as a measure of time are linear. It's the only way I can give it to you. They do not look at time the same way we do. Just keep that in mind. They say that our universe, which consists of everything that we do and don't know about, is a 21 trillion-year-old hologram. That's what they say. They say that all the matter that is in our universe came out of black holes. Under every galaxy, they say there is a black hole from whence everything came. How they have described it is that there was a universe that was evolving. When they mean evolve, they mean that the frequency of that universe continues to evolve, and as the universe evolved, those energies that did not want to evolve or were holding themselves back because they were full of fear started to gain weight, so to speak. These energies, which include consciousness, formed sacs, which got heavier. As the universe raises in frequency, color and sound, the pockets of resistance break and explode out. This scenario is apparently what is beginning to happen now in our universe, 21 trillion years after its creation. Everything in our universe, including us, came from a black hole. The Andromedans say there is no age to us. We truly are infinite. You can take that any way you want. According to Visay and Moreni, on March 23 of 1994 a specific color and sound frequency began to emanate from all the black holes in the known universe. In terms of their science, which goes back a long way, this is the first time this has ever happened. What this energy and frequency is doing is that it is creating a holographic impression throughout all dimensional levels, of which they say there are 11 creational densities. This new holographic impression has become a 12th density. They say that this new holographic impression has one frequency, that it does not carry a duality within it. What this frequency is doing is that it is pulling up all the dimensional levels below it. They say that by December 2013, third density as we know it here will cease to exist. It is imploding in on itself as everything is being drawn up. Those on the 11th are going to 12th. We are supposed to go to 4th and then to 5th density. From the Andromedan perspective, 4th density is a consciousness. It is where an entire race is telepathic with each other. They are aware of each other. They feel each other. They are of one mind, separate individuals but still one. 5th density is where we would be considered from the 3rd density as being light. They say that this is what is going to happen to us, no later than 2013, based on their science. Do I know if this is right? I will know when you know, but they have not been wrong yet. Now, there are individual consciousness which have appeared in this 12th density holographic consciousness. They apparently are like nothing that has ever been seen before. The Andromedans don't know who they are, what they are, and don't know even how to describe them. But, apparently these 12th dimensional beings have the capability to gaze down through all of the dimensions and see everything that is going on there. That is all I know about that. Why is this happening? As all this is happening, certain senses are starting to gain weight, see Fig 1, because the frequency shifting is pulling everything up. Those energies that are regressive are starting to freak out. According to the Andromedans, every single one of us on planet Earth and 21 other star systems in our galaxy apparently consist of a group of beings, individual consciousness, that apparently evolved some trillions of years ago to the 11th density. An experiment was conceived where beings would drop down into the concept of time and experiment with our thoughts creating physical matter. They say that apparently a large group of us dropped down into 3rd density and found a specific race already there with a very specific genetic coding involving 22 different extraterrestrial races. All life on Earth was brought here by traders. Earth lies along a galactic trade route, explorers, miners, joyriders, all different people. Originally, the Earth was in a different orbit, closer to Mars, and nothing but ice. Chapter 1, The Extraterrestrial Global Connection. The Draconians and the Paa Tal. The Alpha Draconians, a reptilian race composed of master geneticists, tinker with life, which from their perspective exists as a natural resource. The Draconians look at life forms which they have created or altered as a natural resource. Apparently, the Alpha Draconians created the primate race, which was first brought to Mars and then to Earth. The primate race was then tinkered with by many other different races, 21 other races, resulting in the primate race having been modified 22 times. This primate race eventually became Homo sapiens sapiens, who we are on the physical level. Yes, we used to have 12 strands of DNA. 10 strands were taken out by a group from Orion in order to control us and hold us back. Why would they want to hold us back? The reason the Orion group wanted to hold us back was because they found out who we were on a soul level. Again, according to the Andromedans, we humans are part of a group of energies that they know of as the Paa Tal. The reason that the Andromedans use the word Paa Tal, which is by the way a Draconian word, is because the Draconians have legends about warring with a race that was creating human life forms that were opposed to Draconian philosophy. The Paa Tal created life forms that could evolve on their own, with free expression. The Draconians, on the other hand, created races to function as a natural resource for their pleasure. So, you have two very different philosophies. Well, how the Orion group found out who we were was through our extreme span of emotions. We are very, very different than all the other races. Even the Andromedans do not understand how we could hate 1 minute and 5 minutes later be loving and snuggling. On one trip I was brought on board a ship, and Visayas was watching a monitor floating in the middle of the room that had an Earth News broadcast on it where a policeman had shot a black man and then had run up to him and tried to save his life. To Visayas, there wasn't a clue why the policeman would do this. I couldn't explain it to him, because I don't even understand it. They are perplexed why we could be this incredible race, and have the abilities that we have, and be so hell-bent on destroying ourselves. Another time I came on board and Moreni was looking at Earth while monitoring all these meters analyzing the atmosphere of Earth. He looked very sad, and I asked him what the matter was. He said, "Don't they understand that all of this is here because they needed it? They don't understand how we can just destroy our environment. It's not like we have another place to do. We don't." Humans have the ability to create without technology. We have the ability, each one of us, even though we may not feel like it, on a spiritual level, to time travel, to create anything without technology. The reason we can do that is because of who we are and because our extremes of emotion. According to the Andromedans, it is the male aspect of ourselves that creates the thought and the feminine aspect of ourselves that makes things manifest through emotion. Now, third density is incredibly dense and a lot of extraterrestrial races don't like to hang out here. The best example I could give about density resistance is if you moved your hand through a bathtub of jello. That's how third density is viewed by those not here. The Andromedans say that proof of how awesome humans are is demonstrated by the fact that we can literally create this third density. As slow as third density is, our intent can literally create anything here. The Andromedans cannot do this without technology. This world we live on, each one of us helped to create. It literally is us, and we are it. We are literally one. We created this place. They don't understand why we would want to destroy it. The hierarchy in our galaxy. There are two schools of thought in our galaxy. There are the regressives, who are races that carry fear and because of that want to control others. The hierarchy of the regressives starts with a group from Alpha Draconis. The Andromedans have no idea where the Alpha Draconians came from, but what they have learned through interaction with other dimensional races is that somebody brought the Draconians to this universe and dumped them in the Alpha Draconis system, where they had the highest probability of survival. According to the Andromedans, the Alpha Draconians have had space travel for 4 billion years. They are an incredible race and have achieved great things, but they are bullies. They are jerks, and that's a judgment. I'm taking that judgment myself. That's my judgment based on what I know about them. The Draconians do not like human beings. The Andromedans say the Draconians believe that this universe was here for them, that their history teaches them that they were left here to rule it. But, when they started traveling, they ran across other races. They were able to conquer many of those races through genetic manipulation. Now, our government, the United States government, the New World Order, whatever you want to call it, wants to implant everybody. From the Andromedan perspective that means ownership. Extraterrestrials don't want to bother with that stuff, since that is not permanent. Extraterrestrials value genetics. What they do is they come in, conquer a race and genetically alter it. From that moment on, that race is genetically altered. The genetic changes alter the frequency, sound and thought patterns of the race if they move into a physical form. Does everyone understand this? Q, could you give us an example of this? AC, the best example I could give you concerns the Greys. Apparently, the Greys were much more human-looking at one time. What happened was that they, as a race, were captured 891,000 years ago while leaving Zeta 1 and Zeta 2 to go off and do their own thing. This is very common, and it is how Earth became colonized. What happened is that they got captured by a group in Orion that was already genetically altered and under control of the Alpha Draconians. According to Moreni, the first thing this Draconian-altered Orion group did was slaughter almost all of the females of the captured race in order to control the birth process. They then genetically altered the remaining females, so that all the children born after that were genetically altered. The males were enslaved, made to work in mines and slaughtered by the Draconian-controlled Orion group, who had absolutely no regard for life. What we know now is the Greys became a natural resource. Time travel permits altering consciousness of a race. Now, I am told that the Greys would love to be absolutely free of this hierarchy, but what they have done is that they have continued to propagate the problem. Now, we have been told that the Greys have been here for thousands of years. According to the Andromedans, however, the Greys got here in 1931. Because of their ability to time travel, it looks like they have been here thousands of years. They can go backwards in time. If you can go backwards in time, you can literally alter the consciousness of any race. You can alter any event. That's exactly what they have done. They are not the only ones who have done this. There is also a group from Sirius B who have also done this. It took me a long time to understand why it was that they wanted to do this. The bottom line is that they wanted to control us. We have things that they want. We have the benefit of having been on 11th density, which means that we have covered a very large area of spiritual involvement, which is why our range of emotion is so large. They want that information. Not only that, but with the new frequency coming in and third density beginning to implode on itself, the Greys are trying to save their rays. According to Moreni, there are only 2,000 real Greys left, all the rest are clones, organic robots. They do not carry a spiritual essence. Folks, we are talking about a technology thousands of years ahead of where we are now. The abduction of humans. The reason the Greys are doing so many abductions is, 1, for genetics. They are trying to bring the races together. They are creating hybrids, most of which are females. There are very few male hybrids. The problem is that they have a hard time keeping them alive because spirit will not attach to it. The life force will not attach to it. So, they are abducting the human mothers and children and peeling off the vital body, containing the energy and feeding it to the hybrids of the same lineage. They are trying to create a soul, and they just can't do it, and they are desperate, which is why there are so many weird things happening. This is just one of the things that are happening. There is a huge gray complex conspiracy behind it. Why we agreed to do this I haven't a clue. Editor note, the permission to do it from the governments was in trade for manipulative technology for humans to use against humans, ultimately for upper hierarchy alien benefit of further repression of the human threat. So this is not working and the races are dying. Now, what the Greys have done because they are having problems with this is that they have been abducting large groups of human children. This is why children are vanishing without a trace all over the world. Some of them are being taken by the Greys. In Westchester County, New York, over 5,000 children have vanished without a trace over the last 3 years. The government knows what is going on, but they are helpless to do anything about it. The reason they don't want to bring it up is because they let the bastards in here in the first place. They cut the deal. They sold us out, and I've got a lot of energy on it, because I have friends who want to know where their kids are. This is just one scenario. Apparently we have been manipulated for 5,724 years now. We have been manipulated beyond belief. To make matters worse, we have had free energy technology that has been withheld from us. So, for the last 100 years we have totally trashed our environment. The rest of the galactic hierarchy. And the rest of the story. We'll look at the positives. There are so many that want to help. For those of you who are Trekkies, you know the #1 rule. You don't intervene with an evolving race unless you're asked. That happens to be a reality. They will not directly intervene, at least they are not supposed to, unless they are specifically asked to. Those people who are contactees have a reincarnational lineage that leads back to many of these positive races, which is why it is not considered intervention. The Andromedan Council. Now, in our galaxy there are many councils. I don't know everything about all those councils, but I do know about the Andromedan Council, which is a group of beings from 139 different star systems that come together and discuss what is going on in the galaxy. It is not a political body. What they have been recently discussing is the tyranny in our future, 357 years from now, because that affects everybody. Apparently what they have done, through time travel, is that they have been able to figure out where the significant shift in energy occurred that causes the tyranny 357 years in our future. They have traced it back to our solar system, and they have been able to further track it down to Earth, Earth's moon and Mars. Those 3 places. The very first meeting the Andromedan Council had was to decide whether or not to directly intervene with what was going on here. According to Moreni, there were only 78 systems that met this first time. Of those 78, just short of half decided that they wanted nothing to do with us at all, regardless of the problems, I think it is really important that you know why they wanted nothing to do with us. We are talking about star systems that are hundreds of millions of light years away from us. Even some who have never met us. They just knew the vibration of the planet reflected those on it. The reasons why they wanted nothing to do with us is that from their perspective, Earth humans don't respect themselves, each other or the planet. What possibly can be the value of Earth humans? Fortunately, the majority of the Council gave the opinion that because Earth has been manipulated for over 5,700 years, that we deserved an opportunity to prove ourselves, to at least have a shot at proving the other part of the Council wrong. So, the Andromedan Council passed a directive that all extraterrestrial presence will be off our planet no later than August 12, 2003. Editor note, isn't it also curious that August 12, 2003 is also a resonant node for the Montauk project? Minus 1943, 1983, 2003, all 20 years apart. Also, in 12-year progressions, 1931,1943, 1955, 1967, 1979, 1991, 2003. The implications are interesting. The year 2002 was also designated the new target date for implementation of the New World Order. 1 year prior to 2003, they want everything extraterrestrial on the planet, in the planet and Earth's moon out of here by that date. The reason for this is that they want to see how we will act when we are not being manipulated. We are all being manipulated, and my first suggestion is to throw your television set away. I can't tell you how sincere I am about that. They're teaching you what to think, not how to think. If you give it up, you become a robot. You become sheeple. I know it's going to be tough. This determination that ET influence will end by August 12, 2003 will be interesting, because living inside our planet 100 to 200 miles under the surface are 1837 reptilians who have been here a very long time, 17 humans from Sirius B, and 18,000 gray clones inside the Earth and on the Moon. Most of the 2,000 original grays are on Phobos, one of the moons of Mars, which is an artificial satellite. There are also around 141 Orion beings inside the Earth from 9 different races. The negative hierarchy 932 to 3,700 years ahead in technology. There are a lot of bad boys here who have technology thousands of years ahead of us. It is estimated that gray technology is 2,500 years ahead of us. The Orion group who control the grays have technology approximately 3,700 years ahead of us. Nobody really knows how far the Draconians are, because they are incredibly elusive. The group from Sirius B are approximately 932 years ahead of us. Forbidden Planet Redoux. How many of you have heard of the Montauk technology? It's time travel. Opening up time warps. Apparently, the technology was given to our government by the group from Sirius B. We were not supposed to have it. It was supposed to be another 150 years before we would have developed this technology ourselves. They purposely gave us this technology, knowing we would abuse it. Now, I can't tell you what the mindset was of the humans that got this technology and started doing all this weird stuff with it. Within the last 6 weeks, Morini has told me that the Andromedans have found a small Earth human military colony, containing families with children, in the Altair star system. They have enslaved the beings of that planet. Montauk only works if you have exact coordinates. That means somebody gave them the coordinates of the planet in the Altair system. The Andromedans are really upset about that. That's just one of the problems. Earth humans, the only race that kills itself. The other problem that has evolved from this involves the human extraterrestrial races that are benevolent. Many of the races are really pure, they only breed within themselves. However, there has been so much interbreeding between the races that they are now beginning to anticipate breakdowns in the genetic coding. The Pleiadians are apparently going to start experiencing this genetic breakdown in 172 linear Earth years. For the first time in hundreds of thousands of years, they will start to see deformities at birth. The Andromedans anticipate this problem themselves in 757 years. Now, there is only one race capable of giving them a genetic boost so that this breakdown does not occur. They say it's us. They want to make a proposal to borrow some of our genes, but they can't. They can't come near us now because of our vibratory frequency. They can't use our genetics right now because they currently carry the vibration of fear, which is not an emotion they know. The first time I walked onto one of their ships, a bunch of their children started to run away from me. They knew that I was from Earth. We have a very bad reputation, because we are the only race in the galaxy that kills itself, that turns on itself. We are the only race that allows itself to live in poverty. We are the only ones who allow members of our race to starve. We are the only ones that allow members of the race to be homeless. We are the only race that would sell itself into slavery. I don't like the reflection they give me of us. It's not that they are judging. They just don't understand why we do it. If anyone's got an answer for it, I'm open. Yes, we've been manipulated by belief systems, but why do we believe these belief systems? To believe or not to believe, that is the question. I have asked a lot of questions about Earth, religions and our history. Moreni has this really great way of mirroring back my questions. One of the things that he mirrored back to me was a question regarding the history of a particular religion. His response to that was, it is not so much what you believe in, but why you believe it. I have had to look at that, and I've had to go back and look at all the belief systems I have. Are they really mine, or are they something that I have been fed that I believe is true, and I am basing my perceptions on the idea that they are or are not true? Another time, I was feeling depressed, and I had to contact, and I decided I didn't want to come back to Earth. I was made to come back, and I was very upset about that. As I was walking away, Visace looked at me and said, "Alex, the love that you withhold is the pain you carry." There is not a day that goes by that I don't think about that I don't look at every decision I make and try to get crystal clear about why I'm making that decision, and where that decision is coming from inside of me. Another time, I was talking with Moreni and he asked me, "Alex, when you are having a relationship, where does the love come from? When you are having a relationship with your family, where does that love come from? When you are having a relationship with the universe, where does that love come from?" Well, the obvious answer is that it comes from me, which is what I said to him. He turned back to me and asked me, "Why do you then believe you have a shortage of love in your life?" Again, it all goes back to belief systems. If they are right, we created all of this to watch how our thoughts can create matter. So, in essence, everything is a belief system. Space is the place to really see your face. The Andromedans call our universe consciousness. They say that consciousness is the space that you create in which to evolve. So in other words, to continue to evolve we had to create a space in which to do it. That is physicality. There is a physicality on each and every dimension. Fifth density is not filled with whispering clouds. There is a genuine physicality to it. It's a lot different than what we have created here, but nevertheless it is still a physicality. History, more of a circle than a spiral. I wanted to get back to this hierarchy for a minute, because I wanted to show you what was in our past and what it is today. I wanted to show you the similarities to illustrate that history does repeat itself until we decide to break cycle, and also that it has always been the same if you go back and look at history. If you look at Egypt, the Sumerians, the Babylonians, Greek mythology, there are elements of truth in all of that. In ancient days, you had the gods. Mythology is littered with stories about the gods warring with each other, marrying the daughters of men, etc. All throughout ancient literature, there are stories like this. The gods would then allow their offspring, kings or pharaohs, to rule in their place as they went flitting around the galaxy. The kings really didn't want to have much to do with the common people, so they had their priesthoods to control information, the masses and accumulate wealth. The military kept the masses in order. Whatever the dictates were, the military made sure it happened. It's the way it has always been, all through our ancient history. If you read Sitchin's information in a book called The Greatest Story Never Told by Lana Cantrell, I understand it's out of print, The Gods of Eden by William Bramley, all this stuff is well documented. Things change, but they remain the same. We still have basically the same situation. The ETs are still here. The names and faces change, but they still have the same mindset, control, control, control. Looking at the parallels with ancient times, today instead of pharaohs you have presidents, prime ministers and kings. In terms of priesthoods, today you have religions and bankers. Those of you who have done research will see the power that secret societies have because of money, and how virtually every country on the planet is bankrupt, and how small groups of men are controlling everything. These men are apparently doing the bidding of the ETs, because the whole point of this coming down on this planet is to take self-rule and free will away from us. The idea is to make things so bad on the planet that the masses will beg to be saved. According to the Andromedans, If you do not accept self-responsibility, and you allow somebody to come in and save you, you do not permanently evolve. I'm not here to buck anybody's belief system. I'm here to share with you what they've said. Then, you've got the military. You've got nuclear weapons and technology far beyond anything we know. Mutually assured destruction. It's an interesting concept. Then, you have the masses. So, as you can see, nothing has really changed, except now we have ways to destroy ourselves. Before, the gods were more than happy to do that. They could change the orbit of the planet, cause pole shifts. The technology exists. The Draconians can literally create a solar system. They can move planets and take moons and put them wherever they want. There are races that have this technology. The Andromedans have said that if the regressives, who have their first line of defense our moon, are not out of here by 2003, the Andromedans have every intention of putting a tractor beam on the moon and pulling it out of orbit, and dealing with it. Andromedans say that there are 100 trillion galaxies in the universe. The NSA, Black Monks, Alpha 1 and 2 and MJ12. Our moon now is colonized. I am told by Moreni that there is a full-time working population on the moon of 35,000 people, and that they are all Aryans by birth. I'll let you figure out the implications of that yourself. There are no blacks, Chinese, Hispanics, Korean, Japanese, Italians. They are all Aryans by birth. In the UFO literature that is going out, we are told that there are a lot of different groups. This is the part that makes me nervous. According to Moreni, and this is the Andromedan perspective, inside that national security agency there is a group called the Black Monks. These are human beings, but they completely interact with all of the extraterrestrials. Moreni has said that these humans are so implanted with extraterrestrial belief systems that they are no longer considered to be Earth humans. Underneath the Black Monks, there's what is called Blue Moon. Now, I understand that the name of this changes from time to time, but Blue Moon primarily deals with the lunar bases. This group is composed of Americans, Russians, British and French. Now, above the NSA itself are bankers. All they had to do to create the stuff is the money. Those of you who have researched the Federal Reserve know how easy it is to create the money. Project Blue Moon. Blue Moon deals with technological development, and this is connected with what is going on in the Manzano Mountains, especially those projects connected with the Department of Energy that are to be used on the moon. Under Blue Moon there is a group called Alpha 1 and Alpha 2. I am not real clear about what Alpha 1 does, but my understanding is that it is to do with globally gathering materials and making sure that the population doesn't get spooked. Alpha 2 deals with personnel. It was their job to make sure that the 35,000 people on the moon had the type of belief system they wanted, and the colonists on Mars also had the belief systems they wanted, even if they didn't want to go. According to Moreni, Alpha 2 is MJ12. So, what we think is the top of the ladder, MJ12, is actually the bottom of the ladder. That is what Moreni says. I have no way to verify this. Our moon's forbidden history. We live in interesting times. We all share a common interest in our countries and our world. We show a temporary interest in space as new and unseen information and discoveries are shared, then that interest is incorporated into day-to-day survival. I would like to share with you information regarding the moon and our solar system. This information was shared with me by Andromedan cosmonauts. It is my hope that I can only add to the information and hidden revelations. As I have been reminded by my friends from Andromeda, we all have a piece of the puzzle. I offer this perspective as a piece of that puzzle. It is not my wish to detract or prove anyone incorrect. I myself have taken this information with the understanding that it is just a small part of a larger drama playing itself out in our backyard and on our home, Earth. This information was given over a period of contacts, both physical and telepathic. The following is the Andromedan perspective of our moon. Our moon has an atmosphere comparable in many places to that of Earth. In many of the large craters on the visible and the hidden side, the atmosphere is said to be denser than sea level on Earth. Our moon has a small egress at its north pole, and the crust is thinly shelled in places. It is only 21 miles thick in some places, and 35 miles in others. We've been told that our moon is dry. 1,000,000 times drier than the Gobi Desert. According to the Andromedans, it all depends on where you are. They say the hidden side has many large underground lakes, huge in size. The irrigation and terraforming is occurring on the hidden side on the surface, but is occurring underground on the visible side to hide the agenda, Apollo 15 discovered and took pictures of water vapor clouds that appeared from the hidden side. This would be most odd and unusual if the moon really didn't have much of an atmosphere, as we've been told. Because clouds would be impossible. The age of the moon's soil is 6.2 billion years old, and has compound and chemicals not found on Earth. In fact, there are many chemical compounds that were discovered, but withheld from the public. There are many more we've yet to discover because our science is not advanced enough yet. The lunar soil did not come from the rock that makes up its mountains and craters. This is known to some lunar scientists. However, it's not spoken about, but in whispers. So, where did the soil come from? The Andromedans say the soil and many of the rocks come from Ursa Minor. The location is a solar system named in the Orion tongue, Chota. This is a binary sun system. We have many similarities in our system as well. Chota is a very large system, holding 21 planets and 47 moons. Our moon is said to have been made around the 17th planet in this system. Portions of the moon's crust is radioactive. Apollo 15 discovered this, especially near the Apennine Mountains. Why were the readings so hot? The Andromedans have said it's because some nuclear waste was brought up there to be reused as a fuel supply for the spacecraft that the world government has built. However, many of the ships that use nuclear fuel are obsolete now. So, how was the moon brought here? It was, I'm told by the Andromedans, put into the tail of an asteroid which brought it into our solar system. This same asteroid circles our part of the galaxy every 25,156 Earth years. Andromedans have said that our moon has been inhabited periodically in its history for 1.8 million Earth years. The moon is hollow. It contains huge underground facilities built by ETs and later humans from Earth. There are 7 openings into the moon's crust, and the underground bases. Conservative scientists have wondered why so many craters seem so shallow, despite their size. The Andromedans say, it's because much of the surface was built on top of a metallic shell of a circular space crest. Or a war carrier, as the Andromedans describe it. An example of a shallow, but large crater would be the crater Gagarin. This crater is roughly 185 miles across, but is only 4.5 to 5 miles deep. Based on the impact and size across the crater's welt on the surface, the depth should be 4 to 6 times that deep. In fact, all the craters are the same. They are too shallow. They defy known science. Many of the craters have been artificially created. The Andromedans have said that many of the craters on the far side were in fact domed cities at one time and that they were destroyed during a war that goes back 113,000 years. Many were used as domed cities and other larger craters were used as spacecraft hangars capable of housing 200 craft. The surface bases consisted of 9 domed cities, which would be equal to a small city. Small lakes or ponds were scattered along the surface. The remains of these domed structures were discovered by NSA astronauts, Russian astronauts, and the NASA Apollo astronauts. The true military complex of the moon is now underground. Entrances to this alien and human bases at both poles, the Taurus Mountains, Jules Verne crater on the far side and Archimedes. These are the original entrances. The black government has created more openings and is currently expanding the underground complex. The expansion is for the operation of private scientific and military agendas for the world order. Andromedans also state that it was a military outpost, until it was needed in our part of the galaxy to end a rebellion that was taking place. The personnel consisted of reptilian, half-human/half reptilian, and those who would be known as humans. Many of the original structures on the surface of the moon were destroyed during what the Andromedans refer to as the Black League conflict. This was a battle fought by humans of different systems that formed a secret alliance, and fought the tyranny of the Orion Empire. Continuous destruction occurred on one side of the moon as it was being transported here by space debris. The side that suffered the heaviest destruction is the visible side we see. The destruction was caused by particle beam weapons when our moon was located in the orbit of Moloch, now a destroyed planet. Our present moon was one of 2 moons that orbited it. The second moon, I'm told, is the moon Phobos. It also has ruins on it, as does Venus, which was a moon of Uranus. Uranus is abundant with plant and mammal life. The glass that is abundantly spread over the moon's surface came from the domed cities that were once on this war carrier. I would like at this point to explain how the moon is supposed to have gravity. Now this is Andromedan science, and it flies in the face of our own science. But regardless, Here is the Andromedan reasons for the moon having gravity. Our sun produces a highly penetrating radiation in the electromagnetic spectrum. This frequency is approximately 1 trillion cycles a second. This frequency is located between the lower portion of the infrared and radar band. It is this radiation from the sun that causes gravity, not the planet's rotation. I will explain more of this when we address the Hollow Earth. The Andromedan science claims that any planetary body that is 29.3 miles in size and is exposed to a sun, is capable of a gravity field, even if it is not rotating on its axis. The Andromedans have related the following series of events to me. They have said that this information has been recorded. I have not seen this yet. So, I'm relaying this information to you the reader in faith of its accuracy. Upon arriving on the surface of the moon, the NSA astronauts, together with their tour guides, the Greys, were taken to the underground facilities where the remains and skeletons of reptilian-like beings and human beings were found. Also, old Orion technology was discovered. This location has been identified by the Andromedans as underneath the crater named Jules Verne. The Andromedans say the size of this facility hidden under the hidden side of the moon is approximately the size of New York State. These huge underground facilities contain large lakes, plant life of Earth, alien form manufacturing machinery, food storage facilities, and spacecraft hangars. Also, alien writing is to be witnessed on the walls and the hallways. The NSA astronauts also were shown 8 vaults that were sealed, but information regarding their contents has not been disclosed to me. Artificial terra environments are being created all the time to house and support hand-picked personnel by the world government. The human leader of this base or facility is called Mr. Secretary. The moon now houses approximately 36,719 human beings from Earth, a small colony. Only Aryans by birth. According to the work that is being done above and underground to expand the facilities, the Andromedans foresee a population of 600,000 in the very near future. Much contact is taking place on the moon between regressive aliens and World Order humans. Currently, the World Order has 53 Earth-built UFO-type spacecraft on the moon. Also, other weapons being built on the moon are particle beam weapons, lasers, nuclear bomb satellites, and antimatter weapon systems. Anti-gravity anomalies on Earth were used to send equipment and hardware to the moon. Pine Gap, Australia and Diego Garcia Island in the Indian Ocean were the primary launching areas. Also, Siberia in Russia is another location. There is an atmosphere on the far side of the moon being created on the surface for extended habitation. There is also water, lakes, and vegetation. They are literally turning it into a habitable colony. From there, the world government decided to go to Mars in March of 1959. This ultra-secret space program was developed and launched largely from the Soviet Union, simply because of its natural resources and size. They could virtually do everything in secret. Upon first arriving on the moon, the World Order astronauts, with help from the Greys, reopened the ancient underground facility. We've had a working colony on the moon since 1961 according to the Andromedans. When the Apollo astronauts landed on the moon, the World Order had been there for some time. This knowledge and technology was withheld from the lower levels of NASA and our military. NASA has been used as a blind to keep the people from truly knowing what was going on out there. The astronauts were silenced under threats, and they remain so today. I would like at this point to share some old history or events that the Andromedans say is important. I have not been able to find any information about these events, however, because the Andromedans specifically brought it up, I am going to share it. In 1953 Earth satellites and radar showed large objects coming towards Earth. These were gray motherships. These time-traveling spacecraft were the same craft seen near Venus in 1787, 1788, and 1789. In the year 1635 a large moon seen near Venus was seen coming and going 4 times. This was a mothership from Sirius B. In November of 1844, the large craft seen illuminating part of Mars was an Orion mothership. The same craft illuminated Mercury in 1799. The same craft, which is spherical, crossed the Sun on March 26, 1859. On the eclipse of July 29, 1878, the 2 large glowing bodies seen between Mercury and Venus were Palladian and Andromedan motherships, moving through our part of the galaxy. In 1783 and 1787, the large bright lights that were seen on the moon were not volcanoes. They were Palladian motherships, the creation of a self-ruled government. The first on Earth. America. In the month of February, in the year 1894, the object photographed striking a huge black object was a carrier craft from Alpha Draconis. On April 4, 1892, the craft that crossed the surface of the moon was not a large bird, it was a craft that looked like it had wings. It was a craft from Alpha Draconis. This same ship was last in this solar system on January 27, 1912. Ladies and gentlemen, this time in which we now live is and will be known in our future as the end of the innocence. We, as a planetary race, must commit ourselves to the idea that truth must survive. We have major challenges to face, and whatever is the truth, we must do all that is necessary to stick together. We have been torn and tattered, we have been betrayed. But please, let's not give up on each other. We are capable of being heroes. We can save the world, and our freedom. We must believe in each other, and in ourselves. Mars, cultural propaganda versus reality. According to the Andromedans, Mars is 3 times the size that the public is told it is. We are told in literature that Mars is 4,200 miles in diameter, when in fact it is 11,421 miles in diameter. This past March of 1995, in a San Diego newspaper, it published a report that showed a picture of Mars in springtime. It said that in 1971, the Viking orbiter discovered huge amounts of ozone in the Martian atmosphere. Now, how many books do you know of that have told you that there is ozone in the Martian atmosphere? None. It was a controlled leak. We are told that the atmosphere is predominantly carbon dioxide. How can this be, when it is supposedly devoid of plant life? When you see the polar cap melt in the spring, as shown in books, how is it that they can also say that the highest temperature on Mars is 141 degrees below zero? The polar cap on Mars is made of water. Will someone please tell me how water melts at 141 degrees below zero? According to the Andromedans, the average temperature at the equator on Mars is 59 degrees. In 1979, NASA admitted seeing clouds float over Olympus Mons, allegedly the largest volcano in the solar system. But, Olympus Mons is over 72,000 feet high. That's one hell of an atmosphere if you have clouds at 72,000 feet. Tetrahedral geometry and magnetic frequency generation in the solar system. The monuments on Mars. According to Moreni, the face on Mars is a tomb, and there are apparently many monuments like that all over the surface. The Andromedans also say that if you look at the surface of all the planets in the solar system, at 19.5 degrees north and south, there are monuments on every single planet in our solar system. The reason that they are there is that they cause a magnetic frequency that apparently causes or creates a sound which polarizes our solar system in direct opposition to who we are as spiritual beings. In other words, we vibrate at a specific frequency. As long as the solar system vibrates at this other frequency, we cannot leave the solar system on a soul level. I do not understand all of this, but I am sharing it with you. Venus used to be a moon of Uranus, and Mercury used to be a moon of Saturn. What the big plan and design of all this is, I don't know. When I asked about the Earth, I was told that the Earth was an ice planet in a different orbit that it has now. When I asked who moved it, the response was, that's something the Pleiadians will have to answer. The Pleiadians aren't all bad, but they are not telling everything either. They have been involved in our solar system for a long time. I was told that the only reason that the Andromedan Council is involved at all is because the Pleiadians went to them and requested it. Our solar system was involved in a war 117,000 years ago. Part of it was caused by the Pleiadians, who simply left. Some of them came back. Atlantis was an ET colony. The Pleiadians never took responsibility for what they did, and now they have to come back and try to fix it. The problem is, when they came back, their past hit them square in the face. We are a reflection of who they used to be, and they have a hard time dealing with it. In order to fix the problem, they have to step back into the warrior mode, and they don't want to do that because it is so destructive. So, as a result, they had to get some help. A picture tells 1,000 words, holographic image technology. They have a camera that they can take a picture and separate it out to get data all the way back to conception. Say I have a liver problem. They can go back and get the data relative to my healthy liver and project it holographically and heal the liver. This is holographic technology. It is literally me, healing myself. We have the same capabilities using our minds. The key is to open it up to the idea that everything that we record in our mind is recorded holographically. Every single thought is recorded holographically. When you are trying to create something in your life, through your mediations, don't look at it the way you normally do. Move around it, behind it, on top of it, beneath it. Train your mind and subconscious to see it for what it really is. They say we have this ability, they need technology to do this, but we don't, because we have the benefit of already having been on 11th density. Life in the cosmos, bullets. As you can see, the Earth is on the fringe of our galaxy. If it were more toward the center, we would not have had whatever opportunities we have had for self-rule. We take for granted whatever freedoms we've had. The Andromedans say that there is biological life on 7 planets and 15 moons on our solar system, but human technology is not sufficiently advanced to detect it. The Galileo probe that moved into the atmosphere was supposed to have been destroyed on entry, but NASA now says that it will be transmitting for several weeks from the surface. Surface? What surface? They have been telling us all along that there was no surface. The major function of the orbiting part of the Galileo mission is to keep an eye on one of Jupiter's moons. Q. Many of us have wondered why we are here on the planet in the first place. Do you have any information on that? AC. I have been told that some of us have been here a long time, evolving, learning not to withhold love. I have also been told that some of us have come back in time from the future to this time now, to right a terrible wrong. That's all I know. Editor note, there's data in Robert Monroe's last book, Ultimate Journey, that also indicates that many of us have come from a period past 3000 AD to this point in history to learn what this kind of planetary situation is like, in order to be able to more adequately and appropriately function on the Earth as it is in the future. Q. What is your understanding of the human energy fields? AC. It is my understanding that there are 8 of them that compose a holographic imprint of all that we are individually, focused into one intent, which is the physicality we are in right now. In other words, we are multidimensional, and it takes 8 levels of intent to create me being here, talking to you at this time. Q. Several years back, I was told by a friend of mine in the CIA, that his brother, who had retired from NASA as the director of operations, told him that the 1990 meeting between George Bush and Gorbachev on a boat off the shores of Malta, was solely for the discussion of an object orbiting around Mars. The comment by this man was that both of them were scared to death. This would correlate with the 1989 takeover that you mention on your tape. AC. I was told that we were given technology and allowed to colonize the Moon and Mars. The best technology was taken to Mars, and some of our strongest genetic human beings were taken there. After that happened, in 1989 the Draconians broke the deal, invaded Mars and destroyed the human colony there. I was told this happened in March of 1989. Along with that, our government was told by the Draconians to totally trash our environment, in order to bring the people to their knees. They were given a promise by the Greys that they would use their technology to clean the planet up once the government had extinguished self-rule on the planet. According to Moreni, the Greys have no intention on keeping that promise. The bottom line is that we the people need to stand up and take over the leadership roles on our planet. I don't know how we will do it, but if we do it together, we will succeed. We have to put all the stupid things aside and look at our priorities. What are our priorities? The environment, each other, and our children. We have to do this. Somehow we have to do this. Q. I would like to know if the Andromedans are going to help us, when they plan to do this, and whether or not they will inform us, so we could unite in a more uniform effort to overcome the problems that we have. AC. They have actually made a decision by telling all of the extraterrestrial races to be out of here by August 12, 2003. Some of the crop circles have been done by the Andromedans as messages to some of the other races that they have to be out of there by that time. They have made a decision to intervene. If it is going to be any sooner, I am told that it requires at least 10% of the population to request it. We each have to individually ask, and it has to be at least 10% of the population. They said, by the time you finish your prayer, we will be here. They want to help, but we have free will. If they just come in without being asked, then they are violating our free will the same way the Greys and Draconians have. They will not do it. It is not the standard they live by. Q. Do you have any idea how the Andromedans will extract aliens who refuse to leave? AC. I have no idea, but if there are any in the Earth, the only way I personally can see would be to enter in at the poles and force them out, which means it could get really weird here. Could you imagine reptilians running across the interstate highway? Q. You said that the next 10 years are going to be weird. Is this part of that weirdness, and what else is there that we could expect? You said that they lost Mars, and the moon doesn't seem to be a good place to go. AC, right. The moon was just a jumping point to colonize Mars. Because of its lack of atmosphere, long-term habitation cannot exist on the moon, which is why they had to go to Mars. Well, they lost both of them, and the world leaders, and everybody who made all these deals with the aliens, now find themselves in a real problem. They have nowhere to hide. They can't skip out of here. To counter that, they are now using the United Nations and the Global Biosphere Program to create reserves, mostly in the United States. The reason? Over 78% of the fresh water in the world is in North America. If you control the water, you control the food and the people. If you control the people, you're a king. The next great escape, the UN Global Biosphere Program. Now, in September of 1995, Bill Clinton gave 18 million acres of Yellowstone National Park to the United Nations Biosphere Program. It is no longer part of the United States. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call the ranger station there and ask them if it is a UN Global Biosphere Reserve, and listen to the response you get. It's no longer ours. Yosemite and Rocky Mountain National Park have both been nominated. He is just giving it all away. They are going to literally take the land right out from underneath us. What is interesting is that in this plan, parts of these biosphere reserves will forbid any human use whatsoever. People will not be allowed in them at all. Around them they will have 150-mile buffer zones. As you look at Yellowstone, they are drawing up plans to remove all people within 50 miles of the park. Supposedly, this is all to allow the animals to come back. If you look at 100 wolves, they need approximately 22 million acres of roaming territory, which is equivalent to the states of Connecticut, Rhode Island and New Hampshire, added together. What are you going to do with all those people, just so 100 wolves can live there? This is already happening. The leading proponent of this is the Nature Conservancy. What they are doing is that they are buying the land, holding it for a few years, then giving it to the United States government, who in turn is giving it to the United Nations. What is wrong with this picture? The ultimate goal over the next 5 years is that the United States of America, as we know it, will cease to exist. Flights among the stars, spirit journeys. Q. What happens to the individual spirit when it leaves the body? Where do we go? AC. This is going to stretch your belief systems. I want you to look at the idea that when we cross over and we all see the light and meet our loved ones, my understanding is that the physical location of that process would be where the Van Allen built is. We go there, and we are processed there. Part of the processing is looking back at our life to see where we withheld love, and then we come back to balance where we withheld love. If they had not messed with the religions, we would have learned this lesson a long time ago. Editor note, if this is so, then what impact will the Heart Project have on this process? Other sources indicate that this is the last reincarnational life for all of us on this earth. Q. Could you explain further what the Andromedans said about our ability to project holographically with our minds? AC. They said that all of our experiences are recorded holographically. When you look at me, for instance, your brain is not only recording what you see, but also my energy field, the thoughts in my energy field, and more. The mind is recording that all the time, and they say that we have the capability to tap into it. Morani made reference to the fact that the whole universe is changing, because thought is changing. They are one and the same. Q. Can the holographic camera you mentioned before just access this incarnation, or can it go further back? AC. It can go further back. Q. Back to the state of our DNA prior to the removal of the 10 strands. AC. Yes, and we have this information about that state recorded within our energy field. Everything we have ever been is recorded there. Read between the lines, please. Q. What about the cancer problem? AC. According to Morani, part of the cancer problem is genetic. When our physical bodies were created, they put in certain genes to make the bodies grow faster. When they stripped us of the 10 strands, some of the genes that should have taken out they left in. Something in us kicks this gene into gear and it starts to manifest. The vibration of love can cure that. Editor note, science today is trying to get the public to buy into the notion that cancer is entirely genetic, avoiding the problem of environmental toxins in the food and water that have been deliberately put there, and the litigation connected with it. All of it is an extension of the neo-Darwinism characteristic of the genetic priesthood of scientism, science as a religion. Intention, following instinct and effective frequency shifting. Q. I am wondering, as we focus our attention on light and love, won't that connect with higher forces that are waiting to work with us? AC. We are already connected. The thing that they are really looking for is our intention, and if you could stop before you slap a dog or whatever decisions you make in your life, stop a moment and ask yourself, what is my intention behind this decision? It is intent that created this mess. We have to take responsibility. So many of us are making decisions based on an automatic response to past stimuli. We are not consciously aware of our intent, nor are we matching the intent with our gut instinct. If you have a gut instinct to not do something, do not go somewhere, then don't do it, and honor it, and honor yourself. You know, these frequency changes that are coming? The Andromedan perspective is that those that will be affected the most here on our world are the men. They say that a lot of the men on our world are going to be leaving, transitioning. The obituary columns in newspapers will be 10-15 pages long. The reason for this is that the majority of men are full of self-imposed isolation. They have shut themselves down. If they do allow energy to move through their bodies like women do, a lot of men are not going to make it. They will have brain aneurysms and heart attacks. If you are not in a space of love, then you are in a space of fear. Hail Bop, the Blue Star and the Empire Strikes Back. According to Morani, Hail Bop is a protocol ship from Orion. It has 4 spiral structures on it, and it carries 2 moons behind it. When it enters our solar system in 1997, the 2 moons will go into orbit with Mercury, and our government is going to make a "they're here" public announcement. They are not here to help us. They are here to make sure control is maintained. It is due here February-March 1997. This comet has changed course 3 times. Comets don't do that. Some reporter asked NASA about these course variations, and NASA replied that it was because of the gravitational pull of planets. Thank God the reporter was smart enough to ask what planets. The discussion with NASA ended there. Change is coming, and you should get ready for it. We are running out of time, and we can do this. We can do it ourselves, and we can be proud of the fact that we can do it. When UN helicopters start flying, don't turn on each other. It is exactly what they want you to do. Q. What I understood you to say before was that evil was a function of our own beliefs, and that matter is a function of our beliefs. Do I have that right? AC. Yes, sir. So, everything is a belief system. So, what is the intent behind what we believe? I will go back to what Morani had said earlier, that it is not so much what you believe as to why you believe it. Q. So, if you stand on those 2 things, there's no matter and there is no evil. AC. Technically, that is correct, but I am not at that level. The future, self-responsibility and self-determinism. Q. I see a parallel in a lot of belief systems, and I wonder if it is a part of the overall historical world programming. Basically, the New Age people think there is going to be a transition into a new consciousness, like you were talking about. I see the same kind of mechanism in the Christian belief system, in terms of the rapture. I see a lot of people involved with the UFO material thinking they are coming down to save us. There are 4 or 5 different versions of this, depending on what state of consciousness those groups happen to be in. Basically, to me, the message is, just lie down and let the tanks roll over you. It is to deflect one away from the concept of personal responsibility. Do you have any thoughts on that? AC. Yes, sir, I do. I once asked Visace to give me a definition of our future and what it was going to be. He said that he couldn't tell me, that it all involved probabilities. I said to him, then what can you tell me? He said, well, I can give you a definition. This is the definition of where we are supposed to be going, and he says that we will reach this point. He said, responsible freedom of self-determination, becoming truly self-confident and free to unconditionally be responsible for oneself, without being coerced to accept some higher authority. What we are looking for, we already are. As far as wanting to be saved, and I know this is a real touchy subject, if you want to be saved, that's fine. But, between now and the time you do get saved, be responsible for yourself, and teach your children to be responsible for themselves. We are supposed to become a race of leaders, not a race of sheep. We are supposed to be chiefs, that is what they teach their people. Nobody falls behind, we all evolve together. The children are supposed to be taught everything that we know, and more. Nothing is supposed to be withheld from children, because they are the next level of consistency. I can't believe what they are teaching children in school today. They are teaching them nothing. Nothing. They can't solve any problems for themselves. They are being taught what to think so they can spit back facts, like a computer. They are not being taught to think for themselves. Folks, we owe it to them to teach them how to think for themselves. Schools are just babysitters. In the Andromedan system, the people who are held in the highest regard are the teachers, because they are the ones that affect all the future generations. Here, half of the teachers are starving. We are doing this think backwards. We are going to have to make changes, and it's going to have to be us who does it. Whether it's homeschooling, or we go to Washington and fire everybody and start all over again. The Andromedan perspective on human biblical matters. As far as the Savior scenario is concerned, I have been told that it has been put into our belief systems to disempower us. Now, this is touchy, so I am just going to share with you what they have said. And, I am going to pick on the New Testament, and I apologize. Again, I am not trying to offend anybody. I am just sharing information that they have given me. This is their perspective. Most of the Old Testament, especially Genesis, consists of pirated versions of Chaldean texts that were constructed in 651 BC. The being that we have been taught is one person, Moses, is in fact two people. One of the people was Moab, a Chaldean chief, and the other one was Prince Sesostris in Egypt. The authors in 651 BC put the two together and created a composite character. So, it is not what it appears to be. When we get to the New Testament, the 9 epistles of Paul were apparently brought from India by Apollonius of Jana. The 4 Gospels were obtained by Hariman Armandi in India. There were Hindu in their original form, written by Apollonius, who was also known as Paul the Apostle. The being that we know as Jesus did in fact live. He was crucified through the palms. But, according to the Andromedans, he did not die, but lived out the rest of his life and died at Masada in 64 AD. Now, I don't know about all of this, I wasn't there. They also say that the last version of the Gospels and the epistles were translated by Euphelius, a Catholic bishop, and that the original books in their original form are at the University of Uppsala, and that they are called the Codex Argentinus. The original handwriting is in Sumerian. That is all I know, and again that is their perspective. Q. What about Adam and Eve? AC. It was a tribe, not just two beings, according to the Andromedans. We received the Cliff Notes version of it. Q. The idea that Moses may in fact have been a composite character doesn't seem to detract from the idea that he was in the right place at the right time, and was able to be a leader. AC. You were absolutely right. Now, where's the best place to hide a lie? Between two truths. You changed it just enough so you can't put the pieces together. Remember, this whole thing is about self-responsibility, self-rule and self-choice. They have altered the truth just enough that it has kept all of us holding back, waiting, and waiting. Lifetime, after lifetime, after lifetime. Here we are, making a decision to hold ourselves back, because we are waiting for someone to come and save us. It isn't going to happen. They say it just isn't going to happen. They don't want to come in here and save us, because they don't want to babysit, and then if something happens, we can always blame them, and the cycle starts all over again. We don't have time, the earth is sick. We have no other place to go. I know this is not the answer you want to hear. It's not the answer I want to hear, because it means I really have to bust my ass to fix my life. But, I don't have a choice. It's just the way it is. Q. But there is a saving reality. There is the truth that brings people the challenge to grow internally to be able to keep up when the planet goes into 4th and 5th dimension. It puts a great responsibility upon us as individuals. AC. Right. Now, let us assume that Jesus is a reality. Jesus did say, "Ye shall be greater if ye shall have faith." There's a profound message in that. These things I do, ye shall do greater, if ye have faith. There is a profound message there. Please don't ignore it. You are awesome. Every one of you is awesome. Don't buy what you have been told in cultural social reality. It is a lie. You are awesome. The near future from the Andromedan perspective, probable occurrences in the next 9 years. I want to share a probable occurrence in the next 9 years. These are things that they say are a 90-100% probability. 1. Scientific proof of dimensions and higher self-consciousness is going to occur. We probably won't hear about it for 15-20 years unless we straighten things out now. 2. Reincarnation will be scientifically proven and demonstrated. This is all within the next 9 years and our major consciousness shifts. Now when this happens, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't mean you run to Hinduism and Buddhism and say, this is the way, this is the way. That's not what it means. 3. Acknowledgement of life elsewhere in the universe. They are already starting to set you up for that. 4. We will have extraterrestrial contact with at least 9 different races. If you don't think that is going to freak out the preachers, just watch. I want to hear what Billy Graham has to say about that. 5. Introduction of clean, free energy devices based on magnetic fields. This technology has already been developed. What they are saying that it is going to be introduced and be out there. 6. Knowledge that the earth is hollow and capable of sustaining life within, and knowledge of a city called Kelnigar that was originally built by Lyrans. Those are our human forefathers in the galaxy. 7. Knowledge of the lost lands of Atlantis. This has already occurred. It is off the coast of Portugal, but they have done a great job of keeping it hidden. 8. Discovery of a large temple complex in the Pacific, 150 miles southeast of Easter Island, that belonged to Lemuria. Moreni said the Russians already know it's there. 9. The knowledge that what we see in the physical is a holographic imprint created and directed from a higher portion of ourselves. Now, if that's true, that means we've got nobody to blame. It means that responsibility rests right on your shoulders. And, you've got to own it, because you can't dump it off on someone else. Stop being a victim, because you're only in denial that you created the situation. If you created it, then you can uncreate it, but you have to take responsibility and be clear on your intent. 10. Knowledge that human consciousness is not in the brain, but is located entirely in the energy fields that surrounds the body. That's who you are. You are not the body. 11. We shall have the realization on how our past and present educational processes have not prepared us to be creative, conscious thinkers. 12. That organic life exists on 7 planets and 15 moons in our solar system. Now, ladies and gentlemen, NASA wants to talk about microorganisms that they found on some rock they think came from Mars. You want to find life in this solar system? Get together and tell NASA to send a probe to Uranus. There is plant and animal life. I swear to you that it's there. As we speak. That's why they stay so far away from it. Their attitude is, pay the bill and shut up. 13. The general discovery that each of us is a part of the whole, and that we are a significant part of the idea of what we call God, and that God is the idea called love. 14. That this accelerated self-discovery being experienced was created and activated by all of us. 15. That we, as a product of extraterrestrial genetic manipulation, are possessors of a vast gene pool consisting of many different racial memory banks, also consisting of at least 22 different races. Because of our genetic heritage, and because we are spirit, the benevolent extraterrestrial races actually view us as being royalty. Now, that has to be the best kept secret in the solar system. At least on this planet, anyway. They actually consider us royalty, all of us. More on the Inhuman UN Biodiversity Treaty. AC, you know, my wife and I talk a lot about this work. It's really easy to just do nothing. To just hide. But, we want to start a family, and if I do nothing and allow this charade to go on, there is a chance that our child will not have the opportunities that we have had, not that it has been easy. Our forefathers, who were rich men, sacrificed everything because they saw a pattern of tyranny. History is repeating itself over again. When you drive home tonight, you should count your blessings, because you don't have to pass a checkpoint and show your ID, like they do in some other countries. 200 years ago, the United States changed the consciousness of the world. Today, because of the liberties that we have, we are under attack. Please don't take what we have for granted. The easiest way for them to get to us is economically. 4 days ago, credit card debt in the United States reached $1 trillion. If you look at all the public and private debt, coupled with the federal debt and all the rest owed to other countries, all of us have on our back at least a $60 trillion debt. Now, I am a former CPA and I know numbers. There is no way to pay back all of this. The reality is, though, that we can change all of this. The politicians are selling us out. We are talking about the biodiversity program. I want to read 2 lines to you from this Protecting Yellowstone piece. They say, In the UN Global Biodiversity Assessment vision of reality, human beings are just one strand in nature's web, having no more rights than any other creature. Does that sound like a human being wrote that? Now think about that. It says that a human being has no more rights than any other creature. Now, it's one thing to live in harmony, but are you going to tell me that an ant or cockroach has the same consciousness as you and I? No. But they want to lump us all together. What is wrong with this picture? Now, a friend of mine in Texas is very interested in storing food, because of the changes that are coming. He got this little handout which says, "Government coming at us," and I would like to read some of it to you. It says that it is now the law in Texas that if you get caught speeding 65 to 70 miles per hour, you get 2 tickets. One ticket is for speeding. The other is for wasting gas. If you were caught speeding at 71 plus miles per hour, you only get a speeding ticket. Will someone tell me the message they are sending? Free-thinking humans appear to be the enemy. Q. Maybe they want people to go faster and kill themselves. AC. I don't know. Maybe. Here's the second part. Students in San Antonio told their parents about strange things that were on a test they were given at school. A group of parents asked to see the test and were refused permission to see it. They sued and won the right to see the test. The Texas Education Association appealed, saying that parents have no rights in the education of their children. The T vowed to take the case to the Supreme Court, all using our tax dollars. If they win, you lose control of the education of your children. If they win the case, homeschools and private schools will be next. Now, this is significant. We are talking about future generations here. What they are saying is that our children are the property of the government. What is wrong with this picture? If there is anything that frustrates me, it is apathy, people who talk but do nothing. Walk your talk, folks. There are risks to freedom, but there is only one risk to bondage, breaking free. If you want to feel good about yourself, do something. We are running out of time. The UN already owns 18 million acres of Yellowstone, and it is only the beginning. What are you waiting for? The United States military troops are teaching UN troops how to go door to door. The United States government wants to hire a mercenary force to come in here and take over. Now, free-thinking people are the enemy. They are going to try to shove some bullshit new religion down your throat. It's all about self-responsibility. Christianity has taught it for a long time, now it's time to walk it. Humans shackled by lack of vision. AC. We received a tape that talks about the Gunderson Railroad Company in Oregon getting a contract to build 107,200 railroad cars that have 143 sets of shackles in each one. I have done some checking, and it's an absolute reality. So, they intend on transporting 15 million people in these train cars. What's wrong with this picture? This is the United States. You have to end the denial. If you believe nothing else about the ETs, and I am telling you with all of my heart, they are behind all of this. The regressive are into control, and the only way you can control is to dominate. Now, if there is a planet that is self-rule, you are not in control of it. There is no mystery to this. But, because we are who we are, sons and daughters of God, who have been given free will, they have to coerce us into giving up our free will. Religions, which have had a positive effect as far as unifying people and supplying a basic foundation of values, are now being used to control and manipulate. The Gunderson information came from Phil Schneider. According to the Andromedan perspective, we have outlived our religions by 450 years. Instead, more and more religions are popping up everywhere. All it is doing is dividing us. There is no common vision. Indecision married with a lack of vision, that is where we are now as a race. This does not mean that somebody has to come forward and say, "I've got the answer, so all of you follow me." I don't know about you, but that doesn't work for me. It has already been tried and it was a disaster. The world is no better than it was 2,000 years ago. All they do is kill the teachers, and then it's business as usual. But, if we all stand up and say, "Hey, we are doing to do this together," and we make a leap of faith in each other, and even for a week just trust each other, maybe we can make a change here. But we are the ones who are going to have to do it. The people at the top have sold us out a long time ago, and they are so petrified that they even lie about lying. So you can't believe anything. 10 days before Kennedy died, he said, "The office of the presidency is being used to subvert the rights of the people, and it is my right to tell them," or something like that. In 1978, Congress admitted during hearings that there probably was a cover-up, and then they sealed the records for another 75 years. If Oswald did it, then why the cover-up? Why seal the records? Because everybody who was involved is still alive. If we knew the truth, what would happen? This is the government you pay for. So, I am not advocating anything except that in 1996, whoever is in office now should be thrown out, and that we should start over again. That means that you must go to town council meetings, to meetings, school board meetings. Everybody needs to get involved. Get off your ass, turn off the TV and get out there and speak. Tell your congressman, look, if you bullshit us once, you're out of here. We're tired of this. We are now legally, under the UN, a natural resource. Parts of the United States are going to be withdrawn from human use. What are they going to do with the people that are in these areas? We have already lost part of Yellowstone, and as I have said, other areas in the United States have been nominated. I don't own a gun, but do not allow Congress to take apart the Bill of Rights. If you live by the sword, you die by it. Sometimes you die without a sword. If I choose to have a gun, though, I want the right to go and get it. If we're eternal, then what's the fear about? AC, all matter is changing because all thought is changing. The Andromedans have said this, and we talked about it yesterday. During a period 357 years in the future, there is tyranny in our galaxy. It's not going in the right direction. We are supposed to become more social and more free, not more imprisoned and more suppressed. It begins with us. Freedom of speech and freedom of the press is almost a joke today. That is why the government is trying to come down on alternative newsletters, because they are telling you truth. That's why they want to shut down the internet, because it is growing so fast that people are waking up. World governments are getting flack from the ETs. The only reason that these aliens can be here is because they feed off fear. It is the only power they have over us. We are souls. We are spirits. We are eternal. Every religious book tells you that, so, what's the fear about? Belief systems in the creation of physical reality? AC, let us pretend for a second that I start a rumor, and I start a rumor that my cat Sam can talk. Some people believe this, and for them it becomes a reality. Now, because they believe it, they are focusing their intent on the fact that Sam can talk. Now, my cat can't talk. Generation after generation believed that Sam talked, because they propagated the belief system that Sam could talk. Moroni and Visayas have said that because of our ability to create physical reality with our thoughts and belief systems, that we are literally going to play out the book of Revelations. We are literally calling it to us. I know that some of you have a hard time with that, and I apologize. I am not here to burst your bubble. I am here to offer a perspective. That's it. I am not here to take you out of your comfort zone. I am here to share, because this is a burden I carry. They say that we are going to literally fulfill it. But, we don't have to. We don't have to create earthquakes. There are going to be some, but it doesn't have to be to the degree we believe it will be. We don't have to create a third world war, or even allow it. Bosnia is just the start of it. The killing of Rabin in Israel is only part of what's coming. I want you to be crystal clear on this. It is all being manipulated to distract you. So, what have you done about it? Earth evolution in progress. The Earth, according to the Andromedans, is a living entity, and has decided that it is going to evolve to fifth density. In other words, as an organism, it has chosen survival. The Earth has pockets of negativity inside of it, because of its history. Volcanoes can be metaphorically considered as release of a blockage. The Earth is sick and has taken a beating. You have the masses on the surface participating in the creation of fear because we are buying into the belief systems we are being fed in the media. We are told of the second coming, catastrophes that are coming, etc. Now, fear is not love. It carries an entirely different frequency. In fact, fear is an extremely low frequency. Here we are, creating all of this. People on the surface is getting very sick, physically. There are viruses spreading, many of them have been created, some have not. Planetary oxygen level near critical level. The oxygen level in the atmosphere of the planet is less than 18%. It is approximately between 16.5 and 17.7% at any time, anywhere on the planet. This is significant. I want you to know that 3,500 years ago, the oxygen level was 35%. In order to survive, The human body needs to breathe an atmosphere that has at least 15% oxygen content. That is basic biology. The Andromedans say that unless we change our ways of behaving, with all of the industrialization and what we are doing to the planet, we have less than 40 years of oxygen left. Personally, I thank God that this new color sound frequency is emanating from the black holes. Thank God that God stepped in, because we'd be in a lot of trouble. Yes, free energy has been withheld from us. We have been lied to, cheated and manipulated. If you go back to the 1960s and look at the peace marches about nuclear energy, etc., and look at the environment now, you will see that it got worse. The governments are going to try and use this against us. They are going to try and blame us for the result of their greed that has propagated this problem. What did we do? We made fun of the hippies and people who participated in peace movements. We treated them as a bunch of crackpots. Now, if you look back, you can see that they were right. We have over 150,000 nuclear weapons on this planet, with plutonium that is deadly for 12,000 years. Where are you going to put that stuff? We all know this, but we do nothing and walk the path of convenience. We've all been trained like good little sheep to walk the path of convenience. Money is a useful tool to create freedom, but it is not God and it is not Master. You are about to find out. At most, we have 18 months. I think it would be lucky for the economy to stay together that long. I don't foresee that. The fact that they want to begin to change the currency in February 1996, means you should expect an economic collapse in April 1996. They would then do a recall of all old currency, and you might have one currency in use. It will get even weirder after that. We are being very carefully led down this path. Earth changes from the Andromedan perspective. Figuring in the expulsion of ET races by 2003, 1. Between June and October 2003, there's a strong probability that we will wake up one morning and the moon will no longer be there. The moon is in fact an artificial satellite, and there are many bases on it. 2. Between 2003 and 2007, the benevolent races are supposedly going to be all around us. We will see them, but they will not interfere. They want to see how we interact with each other without manipulation. They want to see if we continue the same behavior, because they do not want to come down here and compound the problem or babysit. We don't need a babysitter, we need the truth, and we have to have the guts to stand up and ask the questions, and keep asking them until we get the answer. We all have to do it, because if we all stand together, we can't lose. On the other hand, if they are successful in dividing us, we're toast. Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. How many stories in history do you have to see? You can't be divided and expect to remain as one. It doesn't happen. 3. Between 2004 and 2007, all of our DNA coding, which involves all the racial memory of 22 races our DNA is composed of, will unlock. By 2007, everyone will have full memory of who they are, where they came from and what you want to do. You will know what your soul lesson is and your reason for being here. 4. Between 2007 and 2012, we are supposed to see the birth of a galaxy in Vega, just before we move into 5th density. 5. Between 2007 and 2009, if it is allowed to happen naturally, we are supposed to have a 17-degree pole shift. Saudi Arabia is supposed to become the new North Pole, which is great. Bury those oil fields nice and deep. We will have free energy by then, anyway. North America is supposed to be on the equator. 6. By the year 2000, you are going to hear more and more reports of ghosts, because what is happening is that the frequency which will be hitting the planet, which is God, will be raising the vibration. 3rd and 4th density will be getting closer together as 3rd density starts to implode. What this means is that the molecules in our body will begin to speed up. You are not dead matter. You will be passing out of 3rd and into 4th, on our way to 5th, and passing all the consciousness that has not evolved or chooses not to. 7. There's a possibility that between 1996 and 1997, 1/3 of Japan is going to sink below the ocean. Response from audience member: I just got a report from a friend of mine who came back from India, that Sai Baba on his 70th birthday there advised a Japanese group there to leave Japan. The Kobe earthquake was manufactured, because the Japanese government will not sell out its people to the New World Order. They will not make their people take an implant. They are being made an example of. Economically, the Japanese are tough, but they don't turn on their own people. 8. There is a high probability that in July 2003, we will also have a magnetic pole shift, and it will be the first one in 4,671 years. This will impact all electromagnetic devices on the planet. Animals will be lost. It will throw off everything. 9. Between 1996 and 2012, some of us on the planet are going to be fluctuating between optically being visible and non-visible on a physical basis. Fluctuating between dimensions. There are 5 individuals on the planet who do this already. Many of them will be children, who will reveal what they have learned during their fluctuation in order to try and help their parents get there. Many children born today already have 3 strands of DNA. I am told you don't need the other strands. All we need is 1 more, and it's all happening. It's happening naturally. If you open yourself up and allow free movement of love in your life, it will happen within you. If you restrict yourself, hold yourself back and move into denial, you will be suppressing the energy that is coming in, and you will create disease. This is going to affect the men, more than the women. The male thought pattern of being logical is past. It is time to try something different. Q. Do you mean that the men are going to have to express their womanhood? AC. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. They are going to have to move out of the masculine-dominated world role and into a more nurturing role, not only with self but with everyone else. It will be a tough lesson for men, because of all the out-of-balance role models that they have been exposed to and have to put up with. They need to be more in balance. We have to make the effort. Again, it comes down to intent. 10. We are going to have to become more responsible and exercise our free will, because there are going to be earth changes. People that live on coastal areas have a problem. The oceans are going to rise at least 200 feet between 1996 and 2008. The ice cap at the South Pole is going to slip. The ocean will not reach Denver, but will get as far as Lake Mead in the west. Most of the East Coast will be alright except for areas in Florida and an area in Georgia. The panhandle of Texas will be underwater for 2 years. 11. Around 2011, our sun will undergo a 180-degree pole shift. It is literally going to turn on its axis. 12. All of the continents which border the Pacific will be affected by tidal waves because of eruptions of volcanoes in the ocean. The French nuclear test in December created a 7-mile-long crack in the crust at the bottom of the ocean. These people are crazy, folks, absolutely crazy. We know how to destroy ourselves. We have that down to a science. We don't need to be testing these. We can't use them anyway. 13. Within the next 10 years, the major cities in the United States will be under quarantine because of the spread of tuberculosis. The average life expectancy of men in the inner city will be 43 years of age. For women, it will be 55. You are going to see the end of welfare, free medical, county services, etc., because everybody will be bankrupt. Again, this is all by design. Many people will be moving out to communities outside cities, growing their own food, and having their own private police forces. So, those of us who make these choices are going to be stepping back into the 1800s. Horse and buggies, and hopefully free energy. Editor note. In the January 24, 1996 issue of the Journal of the American Medical Association, page 305, a report entitled Transmission of Tuberculosis Among the Urban Homeless indicated that a remarkably high frequency of primary tuberculosis was found when no specific terabytes outbreak was identified in central Los Angeles. A precursor of things to come? Furthermore, in the same issue of JAMA, a report entitled WHO Strategy for Emerging Infectious Diseases indicated that the return of known scourges like tuberculosis are in a state of flux globally. P.318 Val. Now, we are being told that there are too many people on the planet. According to the Andromedans, if we didn't waste out natural resources, the planet could hold a population of 11 billion. What we are actually being told by the propaganda machine is that there are too many people. Now, a planet with 11 billion spiritually awakened people cannot be controlled. Such a planet would change the harmonic frequency of the planet, the solar system and the galaxy. That vibration would be love, and the bad guys don't like that. It all starts here. We are being told that there are too many people. It's a lie. Our leaders are so corrupt that the systems they have are breaking down. But, these systems are not real, in a sense. Instead of acting responsibly, releasing control and letting people take more self-responsibility, the corrupt leaders in the world want to kill off the population in an attempt to maintain status quo. They want to extinguish 50% of the planetary population so that they can maintain their control. Now, who died and made them God? Editor note: Harvard studies have put Earth's population capacity at 44 billion. Who's the real power here? See, this all focuses on us. It is all about us. All of this charade and semantics they are espousing are designed to confuse us. So, who is the real power here? Us. Few people want to stand up and claim their space. Why? Because in order to do so, you have to be self-responsible. That means you have to learn to depend on yourself. Clothe yourself, feed yourself. Do something for yourself. We have to make some fundamental changes. We will have a solution if we put our heads together. If anyone says, "I am here to save you and I have all the answers," you had better turn your back and walk the other way. If such an individual did exist, they would take him out. History shows that. They have done it before. The Sirius B humanoids. Q. What about the beings from the Sirius B system? AC. Some of them are human, and they have eyes like cats. Their skin is gray. They have long straight red hair. Many of them wear full body garments that cover their heads. They have extremely bad breath. Q. Do they mate with humans? AC. Yes, but the egg needs to be altered in a lab. They are using us. They want the encoded information in our genetics. We have racial memories and abilities in our physical bodies. We are moving from 3rd to 5th density. It is the first time it has ever been done, and we can do this because on a soul level we are the Paa Tal. We have the genetic coding of 22 different races in our bodies. When our DNA starts to unlock, we will be able to speak to ETs in their own tongue. We cannot be lied to anymore. We will be able to create and manifest anything. That takes some responsibility. Those that are stuck and cannot or will not evolve, those who are stuck on manipulation and control, will manifest exactly what they desire. Which means that there is a very heavy responsibility when it comes to what is behind your intent to create. If you screw up, it's going to hit you almost immediately. Our solar system at 5th density transforms in progress. AC. The Andromedans say we have 13 planets in this solar system. When we move into 5th density, it will become apparent that there are 27 planets in our solar system. They are already here, but on another frequency, which is why we don't see them at present. When we get to 5th density, it will be evident that Jupiter is a sun, which means at that level we will be a binary star system. Jupiter, in 5th density, is light blue. I am told that in 1,000 years, the 5th density future generations of us that will incarnate on the 5th density physical dimension will have light blue skin, because of the sun. About the space of fear. My understanding is that as you move into a space of fear, you are automatically a victim. You put yourself at a disadvantage, and you literally draw that experience to you, because those that are trying to suppress you will want to feed off the energy. The only reason that fear exists is because we allow that idea to feed off of us. Morani told me this in 1991. In your time and space, the expression of fear will be a challenge to you all. For any of you to be in fear, you lack a clear understanding of most situations. We have observed that your world is at a most confused point in your history and evolvement. Now folks, some of these lines may not make sense, but it was exactly the way Morani says it. He doesn't know English very well, and they are doing the best they can to express themselves. Morani continued, "We understand your remarkable drive and commitment to being alive. We, however, are not understanding of your need to create tools of death, expecting they will keep all in a space of understanding and peace. We have observed that you build, create and plan in a space of fear, not in a consciousness of love. So, your defense position of institutions that create and employ are always then in a state of unraveling and disintegration. We share this with you because they drain you and your earth of energy, both spiritually and materially, physically. Fear always is to feed. Fear does not create itself. It is to feed. The fear we observe is difficult to understand. It depletes you of your focus on the original intent. It is a very secretive energy. Fear withholds love. This is most saddening to see and feel. How can you share understanding and love, when so many of you are withholding from self and each other? Please, feel the words we as a race are trying to express to your race. One of your original intentions in creating your physical reality is the idea of creating and learning to manipulate and express yourselves through physicality using your consciousness. It is your consciousness that the isness has given you, and in fact all things that bear spirit. It is this gift that has been clouded and most importantly, clouded by fear. This creation is completely irrational to whom we all are. Withholding love creates perpetual disintegration. We have come to understand that withholding love only creates perpetual disintegration. We have discovered in our home galaxy that ruins of vast races achieving recognition have ceased to exist. They destroyed themselves simply because they withheld love, and drained the very life force out of their intent, and imploded and destroyed their self-creation. The first projection of fear is denial, and emotion of incredible restriction. Denial and fear result in the complete opposite of the reality it claims to be. Fear is based, from our perspective, on a misunderstanding of one's own worth and security. Why is this so? We have discussed this amongst ourselves in Andromeda about your race. We have formed a perspective based on your history. AC9 continues. Many of your religions have both helped and hurt this process. Some of your world's beliefs have many convinced that they are sinful creatures of nature. Your science teaches that your physical form is a pool of chemical thrown together by accident, so that you are all an accident, living meaningless lives of chance. You fear a God whom a book says is a loving God that will eternally throw you into an abyss for making a mistake. Many in your world have come to understand that in your world, fear, the idea of fear, is their enemy. All of you struggle between understanding and fear, and reason and fear. This struggle is in no way predetermined. Our perception is that this struggle will lead your world to peace and responsibility, or to extinction as a race. This would grieve us. It is time to return as one. It is really interesting to hear the perspective of how other races view us. If you have been in situations where you detach yourselves emotionally, you have a completely different perspective of the situation. Reincarnational souls of influential planetary personages. From what the Andromedans have told me, there are both positive and negative reincarnational souls here on Earth. The souls of the individuals Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, Franklin and Napoleon are back. 3 of them have come in with full consciousness and know who they are. I don't know which 3. The souls that inhabit the physical bodies of the global banking families are Maldicians, who know who they are. About walk-ins. What Moreni has told me about walk-ins, negative and positive, there are many people on the planet that are world leaders that are not who they appear to be. If you have a gut instinct about some of these people, which may be hard for the men to express but easier for the women, please honor it. What the negatives do, and they can do this during an abduction or near-death experience, is the following. During an abduction, a man, for instance, will be taken aboard a ship. His body will be brought into a coma and to the point of death, wherein the soul exits. They will then use technology to replace the original soul with another soul. They then return the individual's body back. They can do this process in 4 seconds. The new individual has a completely new agenda. If you are a negatively oriented ET, in order to manipulate 3rd density, you have to be in 3rd density. This is how they are doing it. Some choose to be in human form. This is Orion technology, and the regressives need technology to create what humans can do using consciousness alone. That's the fundamental difference. The positively oriented ETs, there's an agreement with the soul wherein one soul will exchange with another to come here and do good works. The positives are using this extensively right now. There are thousands and thousands of what you call walk-ins on this planet. Because they cannot intervene, they have to come in physical form and participate in the process in a human body. Moreni has told me that a real walk-in will not tell you that they are a walk-in. They will not, so I don't know who these people are who are saying this. This is their perspective. The concept of the second coming and related topics. Does everybody agree that it's okay to talk about this? Good. This is a touchy subject, and I have mixed emotions about this. There is a part of me that really wants to be responsible for myself so that when I cross over I can say, yes, God, I did it. I take full responsibility for the good and bad. But, there's an element of fear about that. You wonder, and experience is our gauge. Now, if the Andromedan perspective about many of our religious teachings is true, then we are being set up. Now, the Greys have the ability to create a clone, something that looks like a human being but is a robot. My understanding is that the only way you can tell between one of these clones and a real human being is if you are a clairvoyant and can see the energy field. A clone has no void energy field around its body, only a slight white color around the head, which is the field produced by the microprocessor that has been grown inside the head. If they do this, the man will probably be brought out of the clouds, probably on a UFO, and he will look like the man on the Shroud of Turin, which I have been told by Moreni was created by the Greys, by going back in time and projecting a hologram through it, which is why this image is three-dimensional. Now, a hologram is real, we are a hologram. I know how far out this sounds. But, let's face it. The regressives are not playing with a full deck here. We already know that, and there are a lot of people who will do anything to protect themselves, because they are oriented to service to self. I want to tell you that I personally hope that this is not true. I don't want it to be true. But if it is, I have a responsibility to share it. So, I am putting this out there and will let you decide. This being is not the Antichrist, who is supposedly another clone. See, they are going to play this thing out because 2/3 of the planet believes it already. They are saying, well, let's just fulfill it for them, because that will solve our population problem because they'll kill each other. We'll just sit on the moon and watch this happen. It's really simple, if you put yourself in their place. They are saying, give humans enough rope and they will hang themselves. We have been fighting about religions forever. I mean, we all agree that we were talking about the same God, but we all still play this game. Now, this being is supposed to come down and start preaching many of the Hindu philosophies. It will be this clone who is going to ask everybody to surrender their free will. Now, if we can shift planetary consciousness as quickly as possible to a place of love, they will not be able to pull this off. If the Lord is real, maybe he'll get here a lot quicker. See folks, I just don't know. I just don't know. This is one of the issues where I am confused. On the other issues I am not confused, but on this one I am. The Andromedan perspective of the Bible is that it is simply literature with historical accounts in it. They say that Constantine was so busy burning the resources of the Roman Empire and stopping religious wars, that he decided to create a state religion. He took the religions of the West, which worshipped Isis, and the religions of the East, which worshipped Krishna, and put them together. Isos Christos. I don't know about this, because I wasn't there. Moroni asked me once, why is it, if your master teacher, which is what he calls Jesus, was crucified on a particular day, why does that day continue to change each year? Why does it have to be on a Sunday? I did some research and found out that Easter always falls on the spring solstice. Now, what is wrong with this picture? We are told that Jesus was born on Christmas Day when history shows he was born on February 16, 2 AD. That individual soul is the same one related in the Dead Sea Scrolls, most of which have been taken away from us because they don't want us to know what they say. I want to know the truth. I want to know what it is. If you look at the Catholic Church, who had control of the manuscripts of the apostles, and you look at the history of the Church in terms of deception and lying, as well as the fact that in 1960 they admitted to 14 plagiarisms in the Bible, I have a problem now. One word can change the context of a paragraph. I don't want to do the wrong thing, so now I have to question everything. I don't question my relationship to God. I am crystal clear about that, but I do question the idea that I am not responsible enough to take care of myself. I don't want to put my faith in somebody else when it is not supposed to be there. I want to get this thing right, just like everybody else does. I want to live in peace. I want to live in abundance. I want to raise a family, just like everybody else does. So, I put this information in your care. You do what you want with it. I am sharing with you what I know and don't know, but look for something really bizarre to happen between December 31, 1999 and January 1, 2000 when all the world leaders meet at the Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. Count on something really bizarre happening at that time. We will probably know of ETs and have information from ETs long before then. We may not meet any of them until then, but the next 4 or 5 years are critical. They are going to be implementing their plan of domination of free will and self-expression. Nazi scientists let the time-traveling craze into our universe in 1931. Apparently, when the Greys got here, they were the front team for the Orion group. They could not literally pierce the membrane we had around our third density creation until 1931. We were not detonating nuclear weapons then, so I asked Moreni what happened. Apparently, the German Nazi scientists were experimenting with time travel and they opened a door. They put a crack in time, and with our luck, there were a bunch of regressives right there. I don't know how they knew, but they were right there. So, they came here in our reality in 1931. Once they were here, they were able to skip back into time. Now, they could only go back as far as 11,230 BC, Otherwise they would have run into the ET Atlantean civilization. In our history books, the Sumerians, Babylonians and Egyptians talk about the gods. Those are ETs that came into our reality in 1931 and went back and started manipulating mankind. If I had time travel, and I took this plastic water jug back in time and presented it to a pharaoh, he might think I was a god because I appeared out of nowhere with different clothing and high technology. This 7-11 jug might be passed down as a sacred object. It would become priceless. The symbol 7-11 might become a religious artifact. Think about it. The Bible talks about a rebellion of man against God. Mankind rebelled against the ETs, who were tyrannizing and suppressing them. Man was on the verge of extinction. The ETs decided to divide man and give him a different language. Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. As far as what happened after that, I would read the Gods of Eden and Sitchin's books. The information is out there. I would look over the ancient mythologies, particularly the Sumerian and Babylonian ones. The Paa Tal, Redoux. I don't know a lot about the Paa Tal, except that the Andromedans say that we are the Paa Tal, that came back down from the 11th density to play this 3rd density, and that the movement involved 21 other star systems. Our own galaxy here is apparently close to the center of our consciousness universe, as it were. This is why we all seem to be lumped together here. We apparently fell into the concept of time, prior to 21 billion years ago, when 3rd density physicality did not exist. The Paa Tal created 3rd density in order to play this game. I don't know whose idea this was, but next time you can count me out. This is what they say, and I have no way of verifying this. When this 3rd density universe was first created, we were at 5th density, after having evolved to 11th density. This means we had within us experiences accredited to all these dimensions. We are told that everything is connected in some way. Well, if we evolved from 5th density to 11th and then came back down to 3rd, everything we do here affects everything, all the way up and down. But, because this reality was our idea, our creation, the positives have a hard time figuring out how to help us, because we set up the ideas involving free will and self-expression. They don't want to come in and make the problem worse, because if they do it will end up affecting them, and it will then be their fault as well. So, this is why so many different races are talking to people. People are channeling entities, and they're all basically giving us the same message. This is your idea, and we need you to wake up. They cannot help unless they're asked, because then they would be intervening and equal to the regressives that are repressing us. It's a tough situation, and I think God has made a decision about all of this, and I thank God for that. Because now there is a 12th density which is forming, higher than the 11th, and this process is pulling everything up in density. If the Andromedans are right, then God has made the decision to change the game. We are all coming home. It is as if God were saying, I've let you play long enough. You're stuck. I love you, so I'm going to fix the situation. This is great, because we only have 40 years of oxygen left on this planet at this density. So, we played our game right to the end. We took it as far as we could take it without self-destructing. We are all responsible for that, and we are all going to have to stand there together. Our ancient heritage in the Lyran system. I want to talk to you about Lyrae and how the human race colonized our galaxy. Based on the age of the suns and the planets in our galaxy, it was decided that the human life form was to be created in the Lyran system. The human race lived there for approximately 40 million years, evolving. The orientation of the human race in Lyrae was agricultural in nature. Apparently, we were very plentiful and abundant, and lived in peace. Then, one day, huge craft appeared in the sky. Editor note: this scenario is the theme of the movie Independence Day, which aired in the theaters nationally on July 7, 1996. A large ship came out of the huge craft and approached the planet Bela, and reptilians from Alpha Draconis disembarked. Apparently, the Alpha Draconians and the Lyrans were afraid of each other. I told you before that the Alpha Draconians were apparently the first race in our galaxy to have interstellar space travel, and have had this capability for 4 billion years. Well, when the Draconians came and saw Bela, with all its abundance in food and natural resources, the Draconians wanted to control it. There was apparently a miscommunication or a misunderstanding between the Draconians and Lyran humans. The Lyrans wanted to know more about the Draconians before some kind of assistance was offered. The Draconians mistook the communication as a refusal, and subsequently destroyed 3 out of 14 planets in the Lyran system. The Lyrans were basically defenseless. The planets Bela, Tekka and Merc were destroyed. Over 50 million Lyran humans were killed. It is at this point in history that the Draconians began to look at humans as a food source. This is how old the struggle is between the reptilian and human races. Now, I must make the point that not all the reptilian or human races are dark. There is a mix. When we start meeting these races, you are going to have to trust your gut instinct. But, they are coming. Hale Bopp is on its way here. It is not a comet. The Draconians, a beginning dialogue. The Draconians are the force behind the repression of human populations everywhere in this galaxy, instilling fear-based belief systems and restrictive hierarchies. I asked Moreni about them, and he said, the Draconian race is probably the most understood race of beings. I have witnessed a deep respect for this race. The Andromedans consider the Draconians the ultimate warriors, in a negative sense. Morani continues, the Draconians are the oldest reptilian race in our universe. Their forefathers came to our universe from another separate universe or reality system. When this occurred, no one really knows. The Draconians themselves are not really clear on when they got here. The Draconians teach their masses that they were here in this universe first, before humans, and as such they are heirs to the universe and should be considered royalty. They find disgust in the fact that humans do not recognize this as a truth. They have conquered many star systems and have genetically altered many of the life forms they have encountered. The area of the galaxy most densely populated with Draconian subraces is in the Orion system, which is a huge system, and systems in Rigel and Capella. The mindset or consciousness of the majority of races in these systems is service to self, and as such they are always invading, subverting and manipulating less advanced races, and using their technology for control and domination. This is a very old and ancient war, and the peace that does not exist is always being tested by these beings, who believe that fear rules, and love is weak. They believe that those they perceive to be less fortunate, in comparison to them, are meant to be slaves. This belief system is promoted at birth in the reptilian races, wherein the mother, after giving birth, will abandon the offspring to fend for themselves. If they survive, they are cared for by a warrior class that uses these children for games of combat and amusement. So, you can see that the reptilians are forever stuck in survival mode. This means they have no boundaries in what they will do to other beings. Moreni continues, it is ingrained in them never to trust a human. They are taught the Draconian version of the history of the Great Galactic War, which teaches that humans are at fault for invading the universe, and that humans selfishly wanted the Draconian society to starve and struggle for the basic materials that would allow them to exist. Now, there are some real similarities there. The expression Draconian thought is an expression on our world. I would suggest you research that. On the subject of intention, I would like to share something with you that Visay said to say on the subject of intention. Visay said, the smallest piece of physicality that all of you and we build upon is what your science calls the atom. You were taught that each single piece of physicality contains electrons, protons and neutrons, which attach themselves together to form what you call nature. Molecules manifest this union to create everything. We would like to expose a flaw in your sciences. Your experts teach that atoms spin unpredictably. Where is the predictable solidity of matter? Where do the elements come from? Your science cannot answer this. They have only theory. Your science presupposes that matter has its source within matter. This is the flaw we want to share with you. The true source of all elements of physical matter is intent. The intent of the isness that makes all things possible has an invisible side, or world, that your sciences are only now begrudgingly looking at for answers. Intent is the primal force of creation. We are pleased to share with you the idea that intent is the primal force of creation. It is the isness whose intent and desire to explore and expand itself, in all possible openness, that creates all physical matter on all dimensions. It is this which has made it possible for us, as well, to explore ourselves to completion. Therefore, know this, the first material in creation is the electron. It is the tool to build upon in the creation of physical reality. Now, let's look at you, the human. Look at yourself in the mirror. Your physicality is composed of atoms, which form into molecules, which then become cells. You are a symphony of electrons, atoms and molecules of intent. All of you are a complex of intents or desires. Many of you walk around and ask for a miracle, when you are in fact that which you asked for. From beginning to end, physical matter is a network of intent. The isness then spins consciousness into the matter, and what you have is life. What you see and experience is only the smallest part of you. The outer expression of an inner event. The pattern for your human form is created in spirit, and the body is composed of a collection of intents, each one having a particular function, all geared toward the sustenance of your humanness. Questions and answers. Q. Is there some technique you can recommend for self-improvement? AC. Yes. I was given a meditation or exercise. It's a long story on how I got it out of Moreni, but basically I was having trouble seeing my inner light. Basically, you get yourself comfortable and go down within yourself physically and turn yourself inside out from the balls of your feet to the top of your head. Everything on the inside will be then on the outside. Everything on the outside is now on the inside. When you start to see your body upside down, you are on the right track. That has helped me the most. The other thing is quiet time. Make some quiet time for yourself. Q. In terms of the way the governments are lying to us and telling us that there is a population problem, it has recently been calculated that you could put every person on Earth in the state of Texas and have 2.5 acres for every person. AC. Yes. I don't think that is any surprise. Q. Could you talk more about the whale and dolphin connection extraterrestrially? AC. Well, like I said earlier, the whales and dolphins were brought here from the Sirius system, and they are really evolved. There isn't much time to further into it, because we wouldn't have time for many people to ask questions. Q. If we are going to be going from 3rd density, through 4th density and into 5th, what does it matter if the government is trying to manipulate everything? How is that going to affect us? AC. The whole point of the manipulation is to try to hold us back. Q. To prevent us from going into that dimension? AC. To prevent as many as possible. Now, when we talked about the creation of our universe, and the metaphor of the weight of the regressives, all of those who are not going to be moving into 5th density are going to create another space of consciousness, a universe, and continue to play this game until they get it right. Q. You said that the Andromedan Council has ordered that all ETs will be off the planet by August 12, 2003. How will this affect the alleged aliens coming in terms of hail bop? Won't these aliens have to leave by that time? How will they get rid of them? AC. Right. They have not told me how they plan on getting rid of them. I don't know if they know. All they have said that is that they will remove all ETs from our planet, by force if necessary. Q. If the only way we are going to be able to fight this technology is to use our original organic powers that we acquired in the 11th dimension, is there a way that anyone could help us get focused on this? AC. I don't know. I will ask them and pass the information down to you. Q. Do the Andromedans interact with a spiritual hierarchy connected with this planet? How about the angels and archangels? AC. Yes, because the spiritual entities are dimensional and also physical, although to us they are spiritual entities. As far as the angels and archangels are concerned, from Andromedans are concerned, we are all angels. When I mentioned the concept of archangels to them, they didn't know what I was talking about. They had to go review our history and find out what the concept meant. They still don't know who they are. They just said that we are all angels. It is only your perception of yourself that tells you that you are not. Q. What do they say about the human propensity to use drugs as a method for invoking altered states of consciousness? AC. I have asked them about that, and they say that it causes a focus on the physical as a method for acquiring spirituality. It is a focus in the wrong direction. Their perspective is that we are already awakened, but stuck on the physical. When people go to seek all these spiritual experiences, they don't realize that we have already done all of this, and that we should not focus on the physical as the tool, but the self. There are at least 2 schools of thought on that. Q. I was taken to this underground place in New Mexico as a child, and it wasn't Los Alamos. AC. New Mexico is quite a state. You were talking about Manzano, Dulce, Los Alamos. I was in New Mexico during the harmonic convergence. I love New Mexico. I know that it is honeycombed like a beehive underground. Moreni has suggested that I not go to New Mexico, and I don't. When I asked him why, he replied that all free will is monitored there. So, that's all I know. The place you were taken could have been anywhere. I know there are huge underground facilities there. Q. From what I can gather, the Andromedans are asking us to question our belief system about reality and matter? AC. That's right. We have gotten so stuck in dictating our truth based on experience, instead of creation of our experiences. When we get stuck in the idea of just experiencing things, we get stuck on the idea, I feel alive because I'm having these experiences. Many people are stuck on survival, and you can get addicted to survival because you feel alive. You always take it to the edge and you get stuck there. What happens is that you start going around like a hamster on a wheel. All you do is experience survival, and we get stuck in that concept. All you create is survival, 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 survival. Round and round and round the circle you go, instead of creating something else. There are so many people on the planet like this. This is the consciousness of our government. What we perceive is that we live in a reality of cause and effect, when in fact the truth is that this is a reality of effect and that the cause is outside of this? AC, yes. So the bottom line is that there is no life or intelligence in matter? AC, yes. It reflects back to you the value you put on it. So the idea of altering matter to change our situation is one of the greatest lies perpetrated on humanity, as well as the tendency to look outside of ourselves for the truth. AC, yes. You mentioned before that some of us have, in a sense, come back from the future to right a terrible wrong. If that is so, then the regressives could also travel back to change things. Couldn't this set up a time loop that could go on repeating itself? AC, yes, but there is one factor. That is what occurred on March 23, 1994, when the color-sound frequency began emanating from the black holes, and that changed all the games and has brought it to a focal point. Can you give more details about Hale-Bopp? AC, not much more than I gave you. It is a protocol ship for the Orion Group. A team that prepares the way for what goes after it. Isn't it interesting that the entire galaxy is focused on us, and so many are trying to suppress us? Imagine how much fear they are in. How often are you contacted? Do you try to initiate contact? AC, I try to initiate it, I really do. Probably once to twice a month. The majority of contacts have been telepathic in the last 8 months. There are a lot of weird things going on. The Grey Clones and the Pleiadians are in full civil war right now in the Sirius B system. The quarantine around our solar system has been broken, and there are skirmishes going on all over the place. Things are heating up. The regressives are reacting big time because their fear is becoming compressed as their density is compressing. All of their emotions are mirroring back to them. We are doing that on Earth as well. Many people are starting to get buggy. It's the energy, which is compressing on itself. If you are restrictive inside of yourself with the energy, it's going to react and come out of you, and you are going to lash out. The Earth is going to be doing this. When we have the real earthquakes, where the whole Earth will shudder, and it's going to happen. This is the Earth releasing the negativity that it has been holding on to. The Earth cannot take that low frequency with it into 5th density, so it is going to release it. And, it's our own stuff. The Earth will be mirroring back our own stuff. I just want to say, to wrap this up, please do not turn on each other. When the aliens get here, all we're going to have is each other. When one alien group gets here and says, the whites are the ruling race, and another alien group gets here and says, the blacks are the ruling race, and another alien group says, the Chinese are the ruling race, the reality is that all these aliens are full of shit. We are a race of beings living on a planet. We are a race, regardless of the color of our skin. This is the only planet in our galaxy where all these races live together. This is it, and they've got us warring with each other. We are being duped. Don't turn on each other. We are all we have. When the Andromedans come down here, they don't look at people with different skin colors as different races. They look at us as a race. They are right to do so. On the other hand, what difference does it make if we are made to kill each other? Is the HAARP device controlled by the regressive ETs? AC, great question. Of what I know, the majority of the weather modification is currently being done from the moon. They cross particle beam weapons and create and move storms onto the coasts of unfavored nations. This is being done by humans on the moon. The HAARP device has effects which are a byproduct of its actual purpose, to create an electromagnetic shield around the Earth so nothing can get in. They are very concerned about the invasion that's coming. Interestingly, the Pleiadians told Billy Meyer that around 2008, the United States government would do something that would ignite the ionosphere. They are putting billions of watts of electricity into our ionosphere. This technology would certainly do it, but the reason is to create the shield around the planet. I feel sorry for the people in the military and the people in the NSA back in the 1950s who got themselves involved in this. They have totally put themselves in the middle. No matter what happens. When the people find out how they have been duped, the only safe place they will have to go is the moon. But, once they go to the moon, they are going to have to hang out with their regressive brothers, who will eat them for lunch. They did it to themselves.